Hello everyone and welcome to Subliminal Messaging, the channel where we analyze a film and measure it in wokeness. Today's film is A Family Affair, released in 2024, and here's the 30-second synopsis. Basically, this film is what happens when a man with an elaborate cougar fantasy involving Nicole Kidman decides to make a film. Brooke, is living her best life as a writer when Zac Efron, aka Chris, swoops in. Sparks fly, clothes come off, and her daughter Zara walks in on it, projectile vomiting a grape. Cue the drama. Zara's not cool with mom hooking up with her boss, who's also way younger, and spends the rest of the movie trying to cope, while grandma's just like, chill girl, it's fine. Next up is the woke folks count. So for this film, I counted a total of 9 analyzable characters, 3 of which are men and 6 of which are women. Moving on to the racial breakdown of our characters. Of our 9 characters, 7 are white and 2 are people of color. This is a surprisingly white film for Netflix. In fact, out of all the Netflix films I've critiqued, this might be the whitest in terms of racial representation. So let's start analyzing some of these characters, beginning with our first character trait of intelligence. I was only able to find one person that was stupid, and that was Mr. Zac Efron himself. So let's dive into some of the scenes that I really feel portray some of his stupidity, beginning with our moments at 6:04 and 7:17 back to back.
You're blaming that on me? Really?
Sometimes the incompetency, like you deserve to be fired.
Then fire me.
No. I left my autographed Jordans there. I left my copy of The Courage to be Disliked. I have several underwears there, and people sell those. So my house, 8:30, and bring a latte with cow's milk from a real cow. They still make that, right? Or is that like canceled?
Yeah, believe it or not, they still make milk with real cows, Chris. Moving on to our next scene at 1941.
This is a chatouche t-shirt. It's made from the hair of endangered Tibetan antelopes. It's the world's softest fabric. It's one of a kind. I only have 2.
The math ain't mathin' there, buddy. So I think it's pretty safe to say Chris is a pretty dumb character, making him our only dumb character. In addition to our only dumb character being male, our only dumb character is also white. Moving on to our next characteristic, when we look at the characters which are cool versus lame, we find that there are 2 lame characters, both of which are men. Let's look at Chris's lame moments first, starting with 1 hour, 16 minutes, and 13 seconds.
In all seriousness, what I meant to say was that I've done all this stuff in movies, but very little in real life.
Yeah.
I haven't had anywhere to go for Christmas in like forever. So without you guys, I would be a very sad man.
Then one more at 1 hour, 32 minutes, and 30 seconds.
What am I doing? What business do I have playing a good guy? Anyone that I've ever loved or cared about won't even talk to me.
In other words, Chris's character is a loser. Which brings us to our next lame character, the Doc. Now, the Doctor only has 1 scene in the entire film, and he is lame the entire scene. Let's look at that scene now at 40 minutes and 13 seconds.
Waiting room's a little fan-filled.
What? Chris Cole in my office.
How you doing?
Come on. I just have to say, you were absolutely astounding. Who knew you could sing?
Yeah, really since I was a kid, you know?
Fangirl, could I please get some medical attention over here?
Doctor.
So yeah, he might be a doctor, but he's kind of a goofball, and as Zara so assertively put it, a fangirl. Which means that, again, 100% of our lame characters are men. Same story for the racial breakdown, 100% of our lame characters are white. Which brings us to our caring versus selfish characters. On this screen, you'll notice a slightly different trend. I wasn't able to find enough data within each scene for the Doctor and the French director, but we do have an equal breakdown of male and female selfish characters. So let's start with Chris. He's got a couple moments of selfishness, and we're going to dig into the one at 5 minutes and 30 seconds first.
I really don't think you're strong enough, no.
Where were you, by the way?
Jesus.
I had to say a lot more than I wrote down last night, which means Ashley probably felt the sting of rejection much more because of you.
Because you're blaming that on me?
So Chris might have been the one to break up with his girlfriend, but it was Zara who showed up late with the earrings that he was going to give her to communicate that they were breaking up. The next moment doesn't feature Chris himself, but it does involve two characters explicitly talking about how selfish Chris is.
It's not that she's seeing someone. It's that it's him. He's so self-absorbed and selfish, and God, he's such a diva.
I know, darling. So are you.
Oh, we got a twofer. That's right, the next selfish character is Zara. Zara struggles with being a little self-absorbed throughout the film, something that both her grandma and bestie have to remind her about, and here's that second moment at 1 hour, 27 minutes, and 56 seconds.
Malcolm and I broke up. I didn't tell you.
Why not?
I didn't think you had the capacity to, like, worry about me or care. Frankly, it's been a lot about you lately, Zara. Actually, no, not just lately.
I know that you're upset and that you didn't mean that, but like that is so mean.
You're literally making it about yourself right now as I'm telling you this. It's all about how I'm making you feel, and it's exhausting.
So I think it's pretty safe to label Zara as a selfish character in this film, which means that we have an equal amount of male and female selfish characters. In addition, 100% of our selfish characters in this film are white. Which brings us to our final character trait of assertive or passive. I was only able to find one passive character in this film, and you guessed it, it's a white guy. Now, the doc's only got one scene in this film, but in that one scene, he just comes off as a little bit weak and a little bit passive aggressive, especially with that one insult from Zara that he doesn't really respond to, and he just kind of takes it.
Fangirl, could I please get some medical attention over here?
Doctor.
And that means, once again, 100% of our passive characters are men. And of course, that character is also white. So, to sum it up, if you're looking for the idiots, the losers, the pushovers, they're all men. And the smart, cool, caring, assertive types? Well, mostly women, naturally. Which leads us to some similar looking statistics. Basically, if you're looking for any negative characteristics, you will only be able to find them in one of our white characters. Because, God forbid, Netflix ever showcase a person of color in anything less than perfect light. And now for our perfect characters, of which I counted 5. Now, you can see here that the majority of them are women and the majority are white, but there is one character on this chart which I really have to point out, and that's Zara's father. You see, because there's two conflicting scenes. One in the beginning describes him as a nearly perfect individual, and then the second later on shows that there's a little bit more to the story. Let's check out both those now, and you can decide for yourself whether or not Zara's father deserves a perfect character status.
Then I met my husband, Charlie, and he was a writer.
What was he like?
Charlie, he was fantastic. He was a great guy. He was funny and he was smart and he could make friends with anyone. He was a beautiful writer. And he probably didn't get to show the world everything that he can do.
All right, so that description sounded pretty good. Funny, smart, probably caring given that Zara thinks highly of him, and probably assertive since he's able to make friends with anybody. But let's see that second clip first.
I've never told you this, but we were having problems. He didn't want to be married to me. He wanted a divorce. He'd written that book for 3 years. It didn't make a dent. And then my book came out, and I'd start to see him sink, and then I would make myself smaller so that he wouldn't feel so small, and then he was diagnosed. And we just never talked about it.
Typical guy, crushed by the weight of his wife's superior wordsmithing, he just couldn't stand being number 2. So personally, I think it's pretty lame to divorce your wife for writing a better book, so I'm actually gonna downgrade this guy to a less than perfect character. And that means that every perfect character in this film is a woman, and we've got an even split by race. And that, my friends, is how Netflix gets it done. So, is this film woke? Well, if you ask me, I'd say, yeah, it's a little woke. But it's not super woke. It's not like being super preachy about politics or climate change or beating men down with girl power or anything like that. But the way it writes the male characters is just so unnecessarily stupid that it's hard to believe. Like, what would Brooke even find interesting about someone that stupid? Chris literally thought that Milk was potentially canceled? I'm not buying it. Anyway, that's everything, folks. I hope you enjoyed today's episode of Subliminal Messaging and that you come back for the next one. Later, Lemonheads.